Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, but you see nothing, only black. Complete darkness. You listen, but you hear nothing. No birds singing, no wind blowing, no voices, only silence. You want to speak, but you do not know how. You want to ask for water, but you cannot say the word. You want to hug your mother, but you cannot see her face. This is not a nightmare. This was real life. This was the life of Helen Keller. Welcome to this story. Today, we will learn English through the life of one of the most amazing women in history. As you listen, notice the simple words. Notice the past tense verbs. This story helps you improve your listening skills. But more than that, this story helps you feel hope. Helen Keller was born a long time ago. She was born in 1880. That is more than 100 years ago. She was born in Alabama, in the United States. Her family was kind. Her family was happy. Helen was a healthy baby. She was beautiful. She had bright eyes. She had a loud cry. Her parents loved her very much. They watched her grow. They watched her learn to walk. They watched her learn to say her first words. Life was good. Life was full of light. Life was full of sound. But then, everything changed. When Helen was only 19 months old, she became very sick. It was a hot summer. The fever was high. Her body was hot. The doctor came. The doctor tried to help. But the medicine did not work well. For many days, Helen was close to death. Her family was very afraid. They sat by her bed. They prayed. They waited. Finally, the fever broke. Helen was alive. Her parents were happy. They thought the trouble was over. They thought Helen would play again. They thought Helen would speak again. But something was wrong. Helen did not move. Helen did not cry. Helen did not look at her mother. The light was gone from her eyes. The sound was gone from her ears. The sickness took her sight. The sickness took her hearing. She was only a little child, but now she was alone. She was in a world of silence. She was in a world of darkness. Think about this. How would you feel? Would you be scared? Would you be angry? Helen was scared. Helen was angry. But she did not give up. And you will not give up either. This story is long. It is full of emotion. It is full of courage. As we go through the chapters, take your time. Listen to the rhythm of the English. Feel the story. Let us begin. Chapter 1. A world without light or sound. Picture this moment. A small house in the south. Green trees outside. Blue sky above. But inside the house, there is a little girl. She is trapped. Helen could not see the green trees. She could not see the blue sky. She could not hear her father's voice. She could not hear her mother's song. She lived in her own body. She lived in her own mind. At first, Helen tried to communicate. She made sounds. But they were not words. They were just noises. She pulled on her mother's dress. She pointed at things. But her mother did not understand. Her father did not understand. Imagine you are thirsty. You want water. You try to say water, but no sound comes out. Or the sound is wrong. People give you bread. You do not want bread. You want water. You get frustrated. You cry. You scream. This happened to Helen every day. She remembered some things from before the sickness. She remembered the word water, but she forgot it quickly. She remembered the color red, but she forgot it quickly. Her memories faded like a dream in the morning. She relied on her other senses. She could smell. She could touch. She could taste. She knew her mother by the smell of her dress. She knew her father by the sound of his footsteps vibrating in the floor. Yes, she could feel the vibration. She could feel the movement. But this was not enough. A human being needs to connect. A human being needs to share thoughts. Helen was locked inside herself. Her parents watched her. They felt pain in their hearts. They saw their daughter struggling. They wanted to help, but they did not know how. They tried to teach her. They moved a hand to show her things. But Helen did not understand the connection. She did not know that things had names. She did not know that the object in her hand had a word. To her, the world was a puzzle, a confusing puzzle. She grew stronger, but she also grew wilder. Because she could not speak, she used her hands and feet. If she was angry, she kicked. If she was hungry, she screamed. If she wanted something, she took it. She was not a bad child. She was just lost. She was like a bird in a cage. She wanted to fly. But the cage was dark. Her parents loved her. But they were also tired. They did not sleep well. They worried about her future. What will happen to Helen when we are old? Who will take care of her? Will she live in an institution? Will she be alone forever? These questions were heavy. They were like stones in their pockets. But there was hope. There were other people in the world who could not see. There were schools for them. There were teachers for them. Helen's parents read about them. They read about a school in Boston. It was called the Perkins Institute for the Blind. They wrote letters. They asked for help. They sent money. They did everything they could. They wanted a teacher. They wanted someone who could reach into the darkness and find Helen. As you listen to this part of the story, notice the words about feelings. Words like frustrated, lost, hope, worry. These are important words in English. They describe the human heart. Helen's story is not just about blindness. It is about loneliness. It is about the need to be understood. Have you ever felt lonely? Have you ever felt like no one understands you? Maybe you are learning English now. Maybe you feel frustrated because you cannot speak well. Maybe you feel like Helen. Remember this feeling. Keep it in your mind, because Helen's story is about overcoming this feeling. The years passed. Helen was 5 years old, then 6 years old, then 7 years old. She was a big girl now, but she still acted like a baby. She could not dress herself. She could not eat nicely. She could not play with other children. Other children ran and played. Helen sat alone. She played with beads. She played with scraps of cloth. She smelled the flowers in the garden. She loved the smell of jasmine. She loved the feel of the sun on her face. Nature was her friend. The earth was her friend. But people were strangers. Her parents knew they had to act fast. Time was moving. Helen was getting older. If she did not learn soon, she might never learn. So, they made a decision. They contacted the Perkins Institute again. They asked for a teacher, a private teacher, someone to come to their home. The school agreed. They had a former student. Her name was Sullivan. Anne was young. Anne was also partially blind. She had had eye surgeries. She knew what it was like to struggle. She knew what it was like to want to see. She was perfect for Helen. But neither of them knew it yet. Helen did not know Anne was coming. Anne did not know Helen was waiting. Their lives were about to collide. Their lives were about to change forever. Think about your own life. Think about the people who help you. Think about the teachers who guide you. We all need an Anne Sullivan sometimes. We all need someone to show us the way. This was the end of the beginning. The darkness was deep, but a light was coming. Chapter 2. The Wild Little Girl in the Dark. Imagine a storm. Imagine wind blowing hard. Imagine rain hitting the window. Imagine thunder shaking the ground. This is what Helen's mind was like. It was a storm. When Anne Sullivan arrived, the house was quiet, but Helen was not quiet. She was waiting. She could feel the stranger in the house. She could smell the new clothes. She could feel the vibrations of new footsteps. Helen was curious, but she was also defensive. This was her home. This was her space. Who was this woman? Anne Sullivan walked into the room. She saw Helen. Helen was a big child. She was strong, but her eyes looked empty. Anne did not speak to Helen. She knew Helen could not hear. Anne touched Helen. She gave Helen a doll. It was a small gift. Helen liked the doll. She felt the fabric. She felt the face of the doll. But she did not know it was a doll. To her, it was just an object. Anne took Helen's hand. She spelled letters into Helen's palm. D-O-L-L. She did this over and over. D-O-L-L. Helen did not understand. She thought it was a game. She thought it was a funny feeling on her hand. She copied the movements. She spelled D-O-L-L back on Anne's hand. But she did not know the meaning. She did not know that the letters represented the object. This was the problem. Helen could mimic. Helen could copy. But she did not know language. She did not know that everything has a name. Days passed. Weeks passed. Anne tried to teach Helen, but Helen fought back. Helen was used to getting her way. If she wanted food, she took it. If she was angry, she hit. One day, they were eating breakfast. Helen reached into Anne's plate. She took food with her hands. She did not use a spoon. She did not use a fork. Anne stopped her. Anne said no. Helen got angry. Helen kicked Anne under the table. Helen screamed. Helen threw her napkin on the floor. The parents watched. They were worried. They wanted to stop Anne. They wanted to comfort Helen. But Anne said no. Anne said she must learn discipline. She must learn respect. It was hard. It was very hard. There was a small house in the garden. It was called the cottage. Anne took Helen there. They stayed there alone, just the two of them. For 2 weeks they lived in the cottage. Anne taught Helen how to behave. She taught her how to fold clothes. She taught her how to eat properly. She taught her how to sit still. It was a battle of wills. Helen was strong, but Anne was stronger. Anne was patient. Anne did not get angry. She was firm. She was kind, but she was firm. Slowly, Helen changed. She stopped kicking. She stopped screaming. She began to trust Anne. She realized that Anne was not an enemy. Anne was a friend. Anne was a guide. But the language was still missing. Helen could behave, but she could not speak. She could not think in words. Anne continued to spell into Helen's hand, C-U-P. When Helen drank from a cup, B-R-E-A-D. When Helen ate bread, Helen copied the letters. She was very fast. Her fingers were like lightning. She could spell very quickly. But still, it was just a game. It was just finger play. One day, Helen broke the doll. She was frustrated. She could not understand the lesson. She grabbed the doll. She smashed it on the floor. She was happy to feel the pieces break. Anne did not get angry. She swept up the pieces. She waited. She knew the moment would come. She knew Helen was ready. She just needed the right key. As you listen, notice the words about action. Kicked, screamed, threw, stopped, taught. These are action verbs. They tell us what happened. This part of the story is about conflict. Every good story has conflict. Helen fought against her limits. Anne fought to reach Helen. It was not easy. There were tears. There was sadness. But there was also love. Anne loved Helen. She saw the intelligence inside Helen. She saw the potential. She knew Helen could be great. Helen did not know this yet. Helen only knew the touch of Anne's hand. Helen only knew the patience of Anne's heart. The parents watched from afar. They prayed. They hoped. They saw Helen behaving better. They saw Helen folding her clothes. They saw Helen eating with a spoon. This was progress. But it was not enough. They wanted Helen to speak. They wanted Helen to know the world. Anne knew this too. She needed a breakthrough. She needed a miracle. She took Helen outside. It was a warm day. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. Helen could not hear the birds, but she could feel the warmth. They walked to the water pump. This moment is famous. This moment is known all over the world. It was the turning point. Think about a time when you understood something difficult. Maybe you understood a hard English word. Maybe you understood a math problem. Remember that feeling of, I get it. That feeling was coming for Helen. Chapter 3. The Magic Moment at the Water Pump. Picture this moment. It is April. The year is 1887. Helen is 7 years old. She and Anne walk to the well house. There is a water pump there. Water comes out of the pump. It is cold. It is fresh. Anne puts Helen's hand under the spout. The water flows. It pours over Helen's hand. It is wet. It is cool. It feels nice. At the same time, Anne spells into Helen's other hand. W-A-T-E-R. She spells it slowly. W-A-T-E-R. She spells it again. W-A-T-E-R. Helen stands still. She feels the water. She feels the letters. Suddenly, something happens. Something clicks in her mind. She stops. She breathes. Her face changes. She understands. The cool liquid flowing over her hand has a name. The name is water. The word is not the water. The word represents the water. Everything has a name. Everything. The ground, the sun, the tree, the dog, the mother, the father. They all have names. Helen was shocked. She was excited. She was alive. She touched the ground. She looked at Anne. She wanted to know the name. Anne spelled E-A-R-T-H. Helen touched the pump. She wanted to know the name. Anne spelled P-U-M-P. Helen touched Anne. She wanted to know the name. Anne spelled T-E-A-C-H-E-R. In that 1 hour, Helen learned 30 new words. 30 words. Before this, she was in the dark. Now, she was in the light. She went back to the house. She touched everything. She wanted to know the name of everything. She was hungry for knowledge. She was thirsty for words. She remembered the doll she broke. She felt sad. She tried to put the pieces together. She wanted to fix it. She understood now that the doll had a name. The doll was real. That night, Helen went to bed. She was happy. She was peaceful. For the first time in years, she waited for the next day. She wanted to learn more. As you listen, feel this emotion. This is joy. This is discovery. This is the feeling of learning. When you learn a new English word, it is like Helen at the water pump. You connect the sound to the meaning. You connect the word to the world. This story helps you improve your listening skills. But it also helps you appreciate learning. After that day, life changed completely. Helen learned quickly. She was very smart. She learned to read Braille. Braille is a system of reading with fingers. You touch raised dots. You feel the letters. Helen loved books. She read everything she could find. She read about history. She read about science. She read about people. She learned to write. She used a special typewriter. She could write letters to her friends. She could write stories. She learned to speak. This was very hard. She could not hear her own voice. She could not hear other voices. She had to feel the throat. She had to feel the mouth. She put her hand on Anne's face. She felt the vibration. She felt the movement of the lips. She tried to copy the movement. She tried to make the sound. At first, it was just noise. People could not understand her. But she practiced. She practiced every day. She practiced for years. Slowly, her voice became clear. She could say, "I am not blind." She could say, "I am not deaf." She could say, "I am Helen." Imagine the courage this took. Imagine standing in front of people. Imagine speaking when you cannot hear yourself. Helen did it. She went to school. She went to a school for the blind. She was a good student. She was better than good. She was excellent. She wanted to go to college. Many people said no. They said, "A deaf-blind woman cannot go to college. It is too hard. It is impossible." Helen said, "I will try." Anne Sullivan was always there. Anne sat beside her. Anne spelled the lectures into Helen's hand. Class after class. Day after day. It was tiring. Anne's hands were sore. Helen's mind was tired. But they did not stop. Helen read many books in Braille. She studied late at night. She studied early in the morning. She wanted to prove them wrong. She wanted to show the world. Think about the people who say no to you. Maybe they say you cannot learn English. Maybe they say you cannot achieve your dream. Listen to Helen. Listen to her silence. Listen to her strength. She did not listen to the no. She listened to her heart. Chapter 4. Conquering the Impossible Mountain. Imagine a mountain. It is very high. The top is in the clouds. The path is steep. The rocks are sharp. Many people look at the mountain. They say, "It is too high. I cannot climb it." Helen looked at the mountain. She said, "I will climb it." The mountain was college, specifically Radcliffe College. This was a famous university. It was part of Harvard. In 1904, Helen Keller graduated. She was the first deaf-blind person to get a Bachelor of Arts degree. This was a huge achievement. It was news all over the world. People were amazed. How did she do it? How did she learn so much? Helen said, "I did it with help. I did it with hard work. I did it with hope." After college, Helen did not stop. She did not rest. She began to write. She wrote many books. Her first book was called The Story of My Life. She wrote it when she was only 22 years old. In this book, she told her story. She told about the water pump. She told about Anne. She told about her dreams. People read the book. They cried. They were inspired. Helen became famous. She traveled around the world. She went to Europe. She went to Asia. She went to many countries. Everywhere she went, people came to see her. They wanted to hear her speak. They wanted to touch her hand. She spoke about many things. She spoke about blindness. She spoke about deafness. She spoke about rights for disabled people. She said, "Disabled people are not broken. They are just different. They need support. They need opportunity." She also spoke about workers. She spoke about poor people. She wanted everyone to have a good life. She wanted everyone to have food and shelter. She was not just a student. She was an activist. She was a leader. She raised money. She helped build schools for the blind. She helped build hospitals. She met many famous people. She met presidents. She met kings. She met artists. But her best friend was always Anne Sullivan. Anne was not just a teacher. Anne was a sister. Anne was a partner. They were together for almost 50 years. Imagine having a friend like that. Someone who knows your thoughts. Someone who knows your feelings. Someone who never leaves you. Helen and Anne were like one person. They moved together. They worked together. When Helen spoke, Anne was behind her. When Helen wrote, Anne helped her. They faced challenges together. Sometimes people were mean. Sometimes people did not believe them. Sometimes they did not have enough money. But they stayed together. Helen also had a dog. She loved dogs. Dogs were her eyes. The dog would guide her. The dog would warn her of danger. Helen loved nature. Even though she could not see the flowers, she loved them. She could smell them. She could touch the petals. She said, "I can feel the beauty of the world." She said, "The best things in life cannot be seen. They must be felt with the heart." Think about this. What are the best things in your life? Is it money? Is it a car? Or is it love? Is it friendship? Is it hope? Helen taught the world this lesson. As you listen, notice the words about achievement. Graduated, wrote, traveled, spoke, raised. These are words of power. You can use these words to talk about your own success. Helen's life was busy. She was always working. She wanted to help others. She did not want to be famous for herself. She wanted to be famous for her cause. She wanted to open doors for others. She said, "I am only one person, but together we can change the world." This is a powerful message. You are one person, but you can change your world. You can help your family. You can help your friends. You can help yourself. Learning English is part of this. When you learn English, you open a door. You can talk to more people. You can read more books. You can understand more ideas. Helen opened the door of communication. You are opening the door of language. It is the same journey. It is the same courage. Chapter 5. A Light That Never Goes Out. Picture the evening. The sun is going down. The sky is orange and purple. The stars are coming out. Helen grew old. Anne grew old. Time moves fast. It does not stop for anyone. In 1936, Anne Sullivan died. This was a tragedy. This was a great sadness. Helen lost her eyes. She lost her voice. She lost her best friend. Helen was heartbroken. She did not know what to do. Who would spell into her hand now? Who would guide her? She felt lost again. She felt like the little girl in the dark. But Helen was strong. She remembered what Anne taught her. Anne taught her to be brave. Anne taught her to be independent. Helen found a new companion. Her name was Polly Thompson. Polly helped Helen. Polly spelled into her hand. Helen continued to work. She continued to travel. She worked for the American Foundation for the Blind. She helped many people. She raised millions of dollars. She showed the world that disability is not inability. She lived until 1968. She was 87 years old. She lived a long life. She lived a full life. When she died, the world cried. People all over the world were sad. They lost a hero. But Helen was not gone. Her spirit was still here. Her words were still here. Her books were still here. She left a legacy. A legacy is what you leave behind. It is your gift to the future. Helen's legacy is hope. She showed us that no matter how dark it is, there is light. She showed us that no matter how silent it is, there is a voice. She showed us that limits are only in the mind. Think about your own limits. What do you think you cannot do? Maybe you think you are too old to learn. Maybe you think you are too young. Maybe you think you are not smart enough. Helen Keller was blind and deaf. She had no sight. She had no sound. But she learned 5 languages. She wrote 12 books. She traveled to 35 countries. If she could do that, what can you do? You have sight. You have hearing. You have health. You have power. Use your power to do not waste your time. Do not waste your life. Help others learn new things. Be kind. Helen said optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Remember this quote. Keep it in your heart. When you feel sad, remember Helen. When you feel tired, remember Helen. When you want to quit, remember Helen at the water pump. Remember the moment she understood. Remember the joy. You can have that joy. You can have that understanding. As we come to the end of this story, take a deep breath. Feel the air in your lungs. Feel your heart beating. You are alive. You are here. This story helps you improve your listening skills, but I hope it also helps you improve your life. Notice how we use the past tense. Was, did, said, felt. These words tell us about history. Notice how we used emotional words. Hope, fear, courage, love. These words tell us about the human spirit. You are learning English, but you are also learning about life. Helen Keller's life was a story of victory. It was a victory over darkness. It was a victory over darkness. It was a victory over silence. Your life can be a victory too. Maybe your victory is learning English. Maybe your victory is finishing school. Maybe your victory is helping your family. Every small step is a victory. Celebrate your small steps. Helen celebrated every new word. She celebrated every new book. You should celebrate every new word you learn. You should celebrate every video you watch. You are on a journey. It is a good journey. Conclusion. We have reached the end of Helen Keller's story, but her story continues in you. Every time you help someone, you are like Helen. Every time you learn something new, you are like Helen. Every time you do not give up, you are like Helen. Keep her light in your heart. Keep her courage in your mind. The world needs more people like Helen. The world needs more kindness. The world needs more hope. You can be that person. You can be that light. Thank you for listening to this story. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you enjoyed this journey. I hope you learn new English words. I hope you feel inspired. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us make more stories for you. It helps other people find this light. Please leave a comment below. Tell me what you learned from Helen Keller. Tell me about your own struggles. Tell me about your own dreams. Many people will watch this video, but only a few will comment. Be one of them. I read the comments. I love to hear from you. You are part of this community. You are part of this story. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep shining. Goodbye for now.